at 8. I am attorney Sandra Jill Poland, your community legal advocate. Advocacy at 8 is my new YouTube legal series, which launched October 1st, 2018. This series of legal education videos will be posted daily at 8 p.m. Each video, in 8 minutes or less, will educate you on an important legal issue. You and your community at large will be enlightened and empowered. Thank you and your community for viewing Advocacy at 8. I am attorney Sandra Jill Poland, your community legal advocate. This week's topic is trust. Trusts are ancient legal instruments. Historically, the wealthy classes used them to transfer and preserve their wealth to the next generations. We want to be able to learn and use trusts just as effectively so we can use them as tools in our own estate planning. Trusts are documents that can serve many purposes. Trusts can protect and preserve assets and afford privacy. They are separate legal entities. In our first video, we defined several legal terms. In our second video, we discussed the difference between a will and trust, and we also defined and distinguished between executor and administrator. Take the time, if you haven't already, to view the first and second videos. The information shared is very valuable, and it's delivered in a way that is easily understood. There are two main categories of trusts: living trusts and testamentary trusts. A living trust, also known as an inter vivos trust, is a written document in which an individual's assets are provided as a trust for the individual's use and benefit during her lifetime. A testamentary trust, also known as a will trust, is a written document that details how the assets of an individual are distributed after the individual's death. So the first way to distinguish trust is to focus on when the trust was created. If it's created for the individual's use and benefit during her lifetime, that's a living trust. If it's supposed to be effective after the death of the grantor, that's a testamentary trust. The second way to categorize trusts is whether they can be changed or modified. If they can be changed or terminated during the trustor's lifetime, those trusts are known as revocable or revocable. If the trust is fixed and cannot be changed or terminated, then that's known as an irrevocable trust. By the very definition, a testamentary trust, created to take effect once the trustor is deceased, cannot be changed or terminated. It's irrevocable. A living trust can either be revocable or irrevocable. So what's better, an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust? Many see an irrevocable trust is more desirable. One, it's unalterable. It cannot be changed, so it has a little bit more certainty to it. But also, the assets in the irrevocable trust have been permanently moved out of the trustor's possession or estate. And that's what allows the estate taxes to be minimized or avoided altogether. We'll talk more about that in future episodes. So, the first type of categorization is living trust and testamentary trust. The second type of categorization is a revocable trust or irrevocable trust. The third way to look at trust is whether they're funded or unfunded. A funded trust has assets put into it by the trustor during her lifetime. An unfunded trust is when the trust agreement is created with no funding. Unfunded trusts can become funded until upon the trustor's death, or remain unfunded until an event or condition happens. But it is important to make sure that the trust is properly funded. Right now, I'd like to focus for a couple of minutes on one particular trust, and that's a generation skipping trust. In future episodes, we will be discussing other specific trusts that can be very effective in estate planning process. The generation skipping trust, in its most basic form, is a type of trust where the assets are passed down to the grantor or trust creator's grandchildren, not the grantor's children. Since the assets go from the grantor's estate to the grandchildren, then the grantor's children never own the assets. They never take title to the assets. This is what allows the grantor to avoid that transfer tax that would apply if the assets were transferred to her children first. The beneficiary of a generation skipping transfer does not have to be a family member. The beneficiary can be anybody who is at least 37 and a half years younger than the grantor. Generation skipping trusts are effective wealth preservation tools for individuals with significant assets and savings. Estate taxes in the United States in 2017 range from 18 to 40%, depending on the amount of wealth being transferred. We want to be excellent stewards and maximize the amount of wealth we transfer to future generations. Generation skipping trusts can still provide some financial benefits to a grantor's children because the grantor can give the children access to income that the trust generates while still leaving the assets in trust for her grandchildren. We'll talk more about that in future episodes. Please join me for the next episode of Advocacy at 8. Thank you.